Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Bay Area Motif podcast. I'm your host, Dorian Marquez, and welcome to what may be one of my more interesting projects to date, where I will be sharing thoughts and tips about the overall Bay Area music industry. I'm going to be sharing, local news, just venue information, just kind of some basic tips and tricks about the music scene. And I'm going to be talking about everything from, the creative process of being in a band and to business practices to help promote a healthy music scene here in the Bay. To kick things off, I want to share more about my background to give you reasons why you should invest your time in watching my content. So, I was born and raised here in the Bay Area. I spent most of my time in Sunnyvale, but also San Francisco and San Jose. I grew up listening to a lot of rock music, whether it was through burned CDs from friends, 1077 The Bone, or the KSJS metal station. And I would take a lot of time to basically gather music to play while I loved to draw. I still draw every now and then, but I love to draw cartoons, comics. Um, and it'll also help me pass the time when my parents would take me with them to, well, then when they went to work. And eventually, when I started working, it actually helped me pass the time as well. I would be so focused. I would spend hours basically building my playlist from various sources. I had a whole kind of CD case filled with different types of burned CDs that I made from songs that I liked, and I'd have like 10 of them that I'd cycle through on my CD player, and I would always have my CD player. I would always carry extra batteries for my CD player, so that was always super important to me. And as I was growing up, I started playing in the middle school band. I played trumpet. And I eventually kept playing through high school and through college through various groups, the wind ensemble, in duets, trios, in the marching band, in a brass choir, a brass quintet, all sorts of groups. And then one of my friends in the music groups, that I played with, he invited me to play with their music ensemble. And that was my first introduction to the San Jose music scene, which was in 2014. More about that whole journey later on as I kind of have more content released. But my education is actually in business. So that's where I saw this whole connection between the music and business. I'm passionate about both. I'm passionate about people, and so this is just super important to me. But back then, studying business and marketing, and finance, whatever they teach us, it helped me to apply that to my musical aspirations, right? So I made sure to apply myself in the band and push myself on the business aspect. So I would oftentimes, probably to the annoyance of my band members, talk a lot about business. What's our next steps? Hey, we need to promote, we need to bring this many audience members, all sorts of things like that. But we eventually got to recording an album in 2017 called Sophomore Debut. It's right here, and we released it in 2018. But going through this whole musical journey, it helped me to learn about the venues in the area, about promoters, about collaborating with other bands and musicians, making our own shows, reaching out to others in the industry, and so many other things that were involved with playing in a band, right, and writing music and playing music. Um, and so, thanks to this experience, and of course, my acquired business skills, I now have many thoughts on how to help to reduce the friction that there is in going from starting a band to promoting live shows and publishing and promoting an album. So, you may or may not know that there's a lot to the music industry, it's than just the music. So if there's one thing that I want my viewers to take away, it's that the music industry is a business, whether you like it or not. People spend money to listen to music or spend money to have entertainment, live shows. And actually, it's a huge industry in the United States and especially here in the Bay Area. And when getting into it all, it it can be super easy to be discouraged. Maybe there's a poor draw. You struggle to build an audience. Maybe your recording experience wasn't the best. Maybe you did it yourself and the quality that you got wasn't that good. Or maybe a band member left and you don't know what to do about the whole band aspect now. So I want to be your partner in staying motivated to keep going and to actively pursuing your dream. And firstly, though, you cannot begin this journey at all of being an active musical act without accepting that you are starting a business. The faster that you accept this fact, the easier it will be for you. And of course, you can always delegate the administrative and business stuff to your band leader. But the more you understand your role in the business, the smoother you'll make it for everybody. And so, thinking that you're only about the music and don't care about the business, it will limit the amount of opportunities that you get. If you want to make it big, if you want to do certain things in the music industry, you have to really think about that, because just think about your favorite band or your favorite artist, right? So that group or individual most definitely engaged in the business aspects to get their music to you. And in marketing terms, there's a lot of noise, which is all the content, all the attention seeking stuff. And you want to cut through the noise to get to your target audience, and how do you know what they like, all sorts of stuff. How do you reach that person that you haven't even met? There's so many different ways that I'll be talking about that because marketing is my forte, and certainly I don't have to do any of this, but honestly I would rather be doing this than playing video games and just passing my time. So there's something about creating that I can't let go, which is why I was always into drawing, playing music. I like playing. Playing is so fun. So I do like video games, but there's something about creating that is it's just a higher level, and that's why I love business so much. And so I hope that my energy ends up infecting many, many more people. One of the coolest things that people would tell me and the other band members after playing a show or a set was about how their music inspired them to get out there more, right? Because we'd be actively talking to our audience. And so, this sort of energy is contagious. So, for those of you who do reach out and collaborate with other musicians who know exactly what I'm talking about, this is a bug. There is a bug that about creating that you maybe you're in a slump and then you feel it. You feel it when you talk to someone else who does feel the same things about creating stuff, right? You have to do it from start to finish, right? And I want other people to feel that, because maybe you haven't finished a project in the past and you feel discouraged, but don't be afraid of failure. The failures are just lessons, right? And don't be afraid of looking silly, because you may. This is not for everyone. If when you talk to your parents or you talk to your friends, they may not understand it. To this day, talking with my family, talking with friends, they didn't always get why I was trying to do this sort of stuff, and it could be different personality types, right? You don't understand why someone does something, what drives them, right? But you're not alone. And so here I am, just to help you get out there and to share some insight on how to get involved and how many others, currently or in the past have gotten involved in how they have reached success or how they're trying to reach success. Maybe they could be someone that you collaborate with. That being said, what are some components that are in the music industry that we should be aware of, right? So you're a starting musician. Where do I go? You look, obviously online is one of the best resources. You're looking for research. You're trying to find out, how do I start a successful band? And that's kind of what this content is about. So it's not only the musical talent that you have. There's venues, different spaces, right? You can perform at the Brit or the Art Boutique or the Ritz here in San Jose, and there's many more in San Francisco as well. DNA Lounge, I'm totally blanking. There's so many different places. Piano Fight, the list goes on and on, right? Brick and Mortar. There's places in Santa Cruz, in Oakland, right? and there's also different spaces, right? People's backyards. Yeah. I think with our musical group, we I forgot what the name of it was, but we played outside of a church. See, I'm forgetting my shows now. Um, but it's all about the location. You want to be somewhere where your audience is. You want to make it easy for them to show up, right? And there's more thoughts and tips and tricks. You can play to nobody, right? That's just kind of running the gauntlet. But there's also the audience aspect. How do you build an audience? Who is in your audience? How you get them to get on the dance floor if you really want them to dance? Maybe you don't care about them dancing. Maybe you want them to really listen. How do you get your audience to listen? How do you get your audience online? There's so many aspects about the audience. Promoters and organizers, people who organize events, people who promote events as part of an organization. Locally, first one off the top of my head is Pinup Studio Productions, and so they actively promote lineups of different bands that are touring because they need openers for these big acts, and they help expose you to these very talented artists. So there's also radio stations, there's nonprofit organizations, there's college stations, there's now they have online internet stations that you can always reach out to. You can call in. There's of course streaming platforms, Pandora, Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal. There's photographers. If you want to get your image out there, photographers. There's other types of artists. There's people who know Photoshop. There's artists who maybe you need a dancer for your video, or maybe you want someone to make the actual a painting for your upcoming album, or so many cool things like that. Or maybe someone does clay animation, right, for a music video. There's videographers, of course, editors, and there's production studios, bloggers, magazines, podcasters, designers, creative directors, managers, of course, and many, many more that I may have missed. And so you can really see how big this whole industry is, and how easy it is to not really know what your next step should be. Who do I reach out to? How do I promote this? So hence this project of Bay Area Motif, right? It could be so much easier to make moves when you know the landscape and when you gain consensus with your team. So in fact, many of the people involved in the industry do want to hear you, right? They want to hear your voice. And there's one major caveat, and people may disagree with me. I know there's a lot of opinions on this type of subject, and it's really, you have to work on honing your craft. And sometimes this is about the music itself, where it might need work. Maybe your song just is lacking something that attracts other people to listen to your music, right? You really need to think deeply about your music and understand how you can translate what's going on in your heart into your instrument or into your lyrics through your voice. And oftentimes it's also like, how do I make that into a how do I make what sounds, in here, in my ear, and how do I get that in a digital recording, or maybe you're doing vinyl, right? And then sending that to a DJ, or sending that to your audience, right? How do you make sure that that is your best foot forward, right? So it's really difficult. But honestly, some people think differently. Some people say that, hey, it has to be really high quality because everyone's used to listening to their favorite artist on Spotify. So how do you get that person to listen to your music, right? Or maybe you're really heavily involved in a specific scene, and that isn't always important. I know. I think at the music summit in SF, John Hell, he mentioned that, sometimes that just might be how you sound right now, right? Certain bands, they sounded a certain way at certain times. And then, you showing your progress is just really cool for people to listen to, right? So there's so many different aspects to it. Personally, I think you should always try to record your best first, but obviously the music and making sure you can have all those voices, sound great when you do record. I think that's key. How do you make sure that everything is on tape? And now I don't want you to take my word for this. It's just one opinion, and so that's why I'm going to be bringing in more guests to elaborate on what they think about these various subject matters. And on top of that, I have launched a Discord community group, a chat aimed to drive more of these conversations and connect everyone in the music industry to share events, recruit band members, collaborate with other bands, figure out which place they want to record at, and much more. So if you're interested in joining the community group, or in my local rock showcase that I'm doing, or even in this podcast, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel and my Instagram and shoot me a message. Please note that I'm most passionate about promoting bands from San Jose, and will be mainly focusing on rock. But that being said, I'm of course open to, in the long term, especially to grow Bay Area Motif to other genres. And of course, I will be bringing in voices from all over the Bay Area, and who knows, maybe even beyond. Here in the Bay, we're all neighbors. And you can learn so much about the talent from each region, each venue, and each location. And those who have been watching my local rock showcase already know that that's what I'm about. And so, with that being said, I want to thank those who have already liked and subscribed my content. And I encourage everyone to join the BAM fam. This is going to be an exciting journey, and I'm glad to have you all as part of it. So, this wraps up episode 1, and see you on the next episode.